We are in the dark, okay? For some reason, I just did not want to film when it was daytime. So now this is what you're getting. I hope it works out though. I can't really tell if I'm focused or not, so bear with me on that front. But it's kind of cozy. I like it. Well, this is supposed to be my recap from July, but I didn't do that, and now we're halfway through August, and I also didn't do one for June, I don't think. So this is basically just going to be a summer reading wrap up. I believe there are 14 books that I have read these past couple of months, and some of them I'm not going to talk about too much because I had videos that covered them. There are a lot of books on this list that I haven't gotten a chance to talk about, so this is just going to be what I've been reading recently. The first three books I'm going to kind of speed run because I have a whole video about them. I gave Problematic Summer Romance 2.75 stars. I still stand by that. I gave Rewind It Back 3 stars and Can't Get Enough 2.75 stars. I stand by all those ratings, and if you want to see my thoughts and opinions on those in depth, there's a video on my channel. The next book I read was Home is Not a Country. I've read one other book by this author before. I just found the first book on a whim and I really enjoyed it, so I knew I would pick up another book by this author at some point, and I decided to read this book. This book follows a girl named Nima. She feels really out of place in her small suburban town. She often thinks about what her life could have been like if she grew up in her home country. So there is a magical realism element to this book. There is a mirror of herself, Yasmin, that she thinks gets to live out the life that she has always wanted. And in this like alternate reality, she gets to see what her parents were like when they were young, and she gets to see what life was like before she was born. And in most stories like this, you kind of see that you should just be grateful for what you have. It's kind of one of those stories. This is a poetry book, and I'm not someone that really reads poetry, so I didn't give it a rating because I don't know, I don't have like that big of an opinion on poetry. I did enjoy this book, and for someone like me that's not a big fan of magical realism, I thought that this was pretty good. The next book I read was Listen for the Lie. I actually did this on audio, which I recommend because I thought the audiobook was really good. In this book, Lucy has a best friend named Savvy. They are like this, thick as thieves. But one day, Lucy is found wandering the streets with Savvy's blood on her, and Savvy is dead. And everyone thinks that Lucy is the murderer. The thing is, Lucy has lost all her memory from that night, so she has no idea if she killed Savvy. And she ends up not being convicted of murder because there isn't enough evidence that points to Lucy doing it. 5 years later, a popular true crime podcast decides to dig into this case a little bit more. I really like this book. I gave it 3.75 stars, and I think it was a good entry point into the thriller mystery genre. It made me want to read more mystery books, and I will be dabbling this fall. The next book I read was The Knight and the Moth. This book follows Sybil. She is a diviner. People come to her to learn their future. One day the king shows up for a reading and brings along a knight with him that doesn't quite believe in her power. I wasn't as obsessed with it as everyone else seems to be. Like, everyone's giving this book like 4.5, 5 stars. And I liked it, but I don't know. I liked it less than everyone. I think it was a good book though. And the ending intrigued me. I think that was the main thing that made me want to read the next book, which I will be reading when it comes out, but I thought it was good. That's what I'm trying to say. The next book I read was The Love Lyric. This story follows Angel and Iris. Angel is a famous R&B singer, and Iris is the director of partnerships at a beauty company that is working with Angel. Angel has had his eyes on Iris for a while now. They've met before, but Iris was going through a lot. She was dealing with the passing of her late husband, and she is raising their kid, so she wasn't really in the right mind for a new relationship. But time has passed, they meet again, and they hit it off. I gave this book 3 stars. It's not a bad book. I just don't really feel strongly about it, so that's why I just gave it 3 stars. To me, in like the romance genre, this doesn't really stick out, and I know it's not going to stick with me. But it wasn't a bad book. I think this is also interconnected standalone series. I think there are 2 other books that kind of are in this world, and I didn't read the other 2, so maybe I would have felt a stronger connection to these people if I read the other 2 books, but I didn't. So the next two books are in a video of mine. I read Rose in Chains and I read The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. Gosh, that title is crazy. I gave Rose in Chains 3.75 stars and The Irresistible Urge 3 stars. I stand by those ratings, so I feel pretty good about that. Again, if you want to hear more about my thoughts, there's a whole video of me reading them. The next book I read, I talked about a little bit in my last video, One Golden Summer. This book follows Alice. Alice is a photographer who is kind of lost at the moment. She feels like she's lived a lot of her life on the sidelines. Her past relationship didn't work out, and she feels like her current photography isn't really representing who she is. She is feeling really down right now, and her grandmother ends up being injured, so they're both not having a great time at the moment. They decide that they need a little bit of a break. They are going to spend the summer at a lake for some downtime and kind of reset. She runs into her neighbor, Charlie. Charlie and Alice get to talking, and Alice has made a summer bucket list, and Charlie makes it his mission to make sure that she has the best summer possible by completing all the things on the list. You know when you're reading a good romance book and you're like kicking your feet and you feel the butterflies that the main character is feeling? That's how I felt reading this book. And I don't get that often. Especially with a lot of these romance books today, I'm like, ugh. But I really felt the chemistry between these two characters. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to find a really solid romance book. I'm not really gonna get into that in my rant right now in this video, but I felt like Carley Fortune did a really good job at making me believe these two people should be together. That's what I'll say. The next book I read was The Wolf King. This book follows Princess Aurora. She is entering into an arranged marriage, but the night before she's meant to have her wedding, she is kidnapped by the Alpha. Sorry, I can't say that word and take it seriously, so I'm gonna say she's taken by the leader of the werewolf clan. You get what I mean. I'm not gonna say Alpha with a straight face. I'm just not. My review says, was this book incredible? No. But was it quick and fun? Yes, that's kind of how I feel about this book. I'm pretty sure I gave this book 3 stars. I kind of still stand with it. I had a fun time reading it, honestly. Will I be reading the next book? I don't know. Maybe on audio, because I read this on my Kindle, and while it was a fast reading experience, I don't know if I care enough to read another one of these books, but if it's like a quick and easy audiobook, I'll listen to it. There's a character in this book that I was low-key kind of shipping our main character with, and not like the person that she's kind of intended to be with. I don't know what that character's deal was, but I just felt like there was chemistry, like an undeniable chemistry. I don't know if the author kind of wrote it that way on purpose or if it's just me, but I was reading it and I was kind of like, who's that? Wait, who's that? Who is that? It's also not like I didn't like the main love interest, but at a certain point in the book, I got kind of bored with him. Like, it was fun, and then I got bored because they got together, so I was like, okay, whatever. But then there was this other guy, and I was like, what's happening here? The next book I read was Atmosphere. This book follows a woman named Joan who is entering into a space program in the 1980s. This is a love story, but I'm not really gonna say anything else about this book. I think that you should go into this book blind. Do not even look this up on Goodreads. Just go and read it if you were interested in, if like you're a fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid, I think you'll like this book. So I'm being like kind of cryptic. It's like not that crazy of a plot line, but I'm glad that I didn't know about it beforehand. The next book I read was The House of Eve. This book follows 2 separate timelines, but they eventually intertwine. Follows Ruby and Eleanor. This book explores how class, race, and education play a role in how Black women dealt with pregnancy and infertility in the 1950s. The 2 plot lines show how those 2 women navigate those topics. I thought it was well written, and I gave it a 3.75 stars. I would recommend this book. The last book I want to talk about is Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends. Audrey is writing a self-help book, but she feels like she needs a little bit more real life experience. So she gets the help of the new boy in town, Bash, to kind of help her step out of her shell a little bit. So he helps her gain new experiences to help with her writing. I gave this book 3.75. kind of a 4 because I thought it was a really good YA book. The way I rate YA most of the time is if I read this when I was younger, would I be obsessed with it? If I read this book in like middle school, this would have been everything to me in middle school. It touches on friendship, fights and disagreements, strained family dynamics, dealing with the weight of being the golden child, and it made me tip my hat to Tia Williams because I feel like one of the true tests of if you are a really good writer is being able to go from the adult genre and also being able to write YA. And I think she was successful in that, like having enough talent to write a really good adult romance book, but also a really good YA romance book. Very impressive. I would recommend this book. I thought it was really cute. Those are all the books I've read recently. And actually, let's be crazy. I'm going to tell you the books that I'm looking forward to by the end of August, which I don't really know if there are any, and then a little bit into September, because I don't think I'm going to film another one of these soon. Calabasas comes out later this month. Am I going to read that book? I actually don't know, because if I can speak my truth, I don't think I'm going to like it. Something about it, I just feel like the hype is not going to give me what I want. The elements of romance that are going to be in this book, I don't think is really going to click for me. Something is telling me that that's going to be the case. So I don't know if I'm going to read that book. Now, for September, I only have 2 books on the calendar that I care about. We have Every Spiral of Fate, which is it the 4th book? The 4th book in the series comes out. And I hope for this one there's a little bit more action going on because I'm blanking on the title, but the 3rd book in this series, it literally was just vibes. Like, I don't know why she even published that book because nothing happened in it. I'm still excited though. Clearly, it's on the calendar. And then something monumental comes out in September. And that is Alchemized. I remember when this book was announced and it felt like 5 years away. And now we're almost less than a month out. I can't speak about it. I'll go on a whole rant. I'm so excited for that book. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this reading wrap up, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want, you can subscribe or comment down below and tell me what you've been reading this summer. I hope you have a great day. I will see you in my next video. Bye.